Hi, I'm Amanda,
And I'm Tori.
and today we're going to be talking about self-monitoring. Specifically, we'll be talking about what self-monitoring is, along with some examples of it, and why does it fail sometimes. Self-monitoring is the ability to monitor one's own thoughts and behaviors and accommodate them when necessary.
Self-monitoring aids students in many ways. It helps to improve student self-management skills, along with supporting academic, behavioral, and social development.
Self-monitoring is a critical component within self-regulation. Successful individuals begin by setting goals, making plans to achieve those goals, taking actions towards the goals, self-monitoring their success or failures, then finally making adjustments if the goals are not met.
What are some ways that you think you self-monitor in everyday life? In this lesson, we will be giving examples of a few different types of self-monitoring. They include meta-memory, comprehension monitoring, meta-motivation, error detection, judgments of knowledge, and judgments of learning.
Meta-memory is basically monitoring your own memories. This includes judging your own memory abilities and accuracy and predicting how well you will remember something in the future.
For example, you think that you're prepared for the upcoming test because you studied all of the material. But
you realize while taking the exam that you missed an entire section while studying.
comprehension monitoring is when a learner judges whether or not they understand the topic they're attempting to learn.
For example, while learning the rules to tennis and how to play it, you might think you understand, but
Really, while self-monitoring, you realized that you judged wrong and you don't understand the rules to tennis at all.
Another example of self-monitoring is meta-motivation, which is attending to and evaluating your own motivations, emotions, and attitudes. There are a lot of distractions in our environment every minute of every day, but good self-monitoring is making sure to attend and evaluate your motivations, aka keeping your eye on the prize. Error detection is checking your work and performance for errors, noticing when errors have occurred, and noticing a mismatch between expected and actual performance.
For example, she realized that there was a major error on the graph that they were planning to use for the big business meeting today. Judgments of knowledge, defined, is evaluating whether or not you know something or whether you'll know it in the future.
For example, when you see a pointer on a map, you can self-monitor and evaluate that you know it's pointed at Europe. The last example of self-monitoring is judgments of learning. This is when you evaluate whether you have learned something, are capable of learning it, or will learn it after studying.
When you see the name of a city, you may recognize it and know where it's located because you've learned it. In this example, we know that these cities are located in Europe.
But sometimes self-monitoring fails, and we're going to explain some possible reasons why. One reason we fail at self-monitoring is because of faulty standards, which means that maybe we don't always understand the task or we haven't adopted good performance standards.
Sometimes we misunderstand the task, and there is a mismatch between what the directions state and how we self-assess.
Sometimes we fail at self-monitoring because of our beliefs and biases. These include our beliefs about the nature of knowledge and how we gain it. One example of this is what we believe a mistake to be. If we think a mistake means that we are stupid, it impacts how we think about ourselves and our future learning.
Misleading cues are another way that we fail.
Misleading cues can happen because of encoding fluency. Sometimes information that we see, maybe during lectures, seems as though it would be easy to understand, such as the definition of self-monitoring, so we think that no further processing is necessary.
But at the end of this lesson, will you be able to tell me the definition of self-monitoring? Misleading cues can also happen because of perceptual fluency. We think that words that are easy to perceive because they are in different fonts, larger, or in bright color, will be judged as easier to remember or recall in the future.
But at the end of the lesson, will you be able to recall the word on the board without re-looking at it? We also fail at self-monitoring because of misperceptions.
When we believe a task is very difficult and requires special skill, then those are the ideas that we attempt to monitor, instead of focusing on our own capabilities.
This has been Self-Monitoring with Amanda and Tori.
Come back soon for another lesson filled with awesomeness.
Here are some behind the scenes of some other principles that we use to help design our lesson. During our lesson, we incorporated the cognitive principle of attention through the use of animated objects, colors, sounds, gestures, and emotional cues. This might have helped you in redirecting your cognitive processes towards the goal of learning or an idea about self-monitoring. While this lesson was about self-monitoring, we also used it as our underlying metacognitive principle. We did this through self-testing, quiz questions, and reflective questions throughout the lesson.
Motivation is a huge part of this lesson. It is the underlying principle of why learners want to do well in their studies. In this lesson especially, we want learners to do well in the quiz so they can do well in the class as time progresses, as well as increase their skills in self-motivation and self-regulation throughout their learning experience. Self-regulation is a key principle to understanding and achieving self-monitoring to the best of your abilities. We used feedback in this lesson as a way to self-regulate by implementing answers to the quiz questions, giving self-monitoring advice, and giving do's and don'ts to self-regulation and self-monitoring.